There we are. What's going on, crew? Welcome to another lesson. I almost called it an episode again, but it's not an episode, but we're going live every week. Today, I got a fun, chaotic story about a hospital visit from today that I'll get into towards the end, so stick around for that. If you're watching the replay, drop a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know who's here, and I am pumped to talk with you guys about some lessons I learned while I was visiting the emergency room. So I'm going to jump in, make sure we got our feed live over here. So give me 1 second to check visual. It looks like we're good. And drop a number 1 in the comments if you can hear me, because I got to make sure we're good to go on the audio as well. And we'll keep an eye out for that in just a second. All right. Cool. So what I want to share with you guys today is about type 1 diabetes, but more specifically lessons learned from the hospital. And it was quite incredible, the process that I went through today. And we got a 1 from Melinda. Love it. Okay, cool. So with the events that unfolded today, I can confidently say I did not plan for today to unfold as it did. And I don't think anybody ever plans, well, I think nurses and doctors probably plan to go to the hospital, right? But I was not planning on going to the hospital, let alone the emergency room. And, while I was there were some key lessons that I learned, things that stuck out to me. Some of them are things that I've learned in the past and needed to relearn. Other things were actually new lessons. And these were things that I picked up on while listening to the conversations between nurses and doctors and surgeons and patients. And it was an interesting experience, to say the least. And towards the end, I'm going to give you guys the whole breakdown of what happened and why the heck I was visiting the ER today. But, as someone living with type 1 diabetes, you got to be careful with injury, illness. All these things can be a bit more of a threat, right? So you got to take it seriously. But as I'm there, one of the first things that I actually jotted on my phone was that, when we are seeking out care, when we are asking questions, when we are receiving what should be the answers to our problems, you would hope, right, in a medical setting, you got to be your own best advocate. And this is something that took me a long time to learn. When I was first diagnosed, I just accepted whatever the doctors told me as true facts, move on, right? Do what they say and everything's going to be okay. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And there are a lot of fantastic doctors out there, a lot of great endocrinologists and PAs and nurses. My entire family is in the medical system, even extended family. It's kind of like what my family does. And, there are amazing people out there, but the majority of interactions that I've had and that a lot of my clients have had been less than ideal. And so unfortunately, you do have to become your own best advocate. Now, what does that mean? Simply put, being your own best advocate is standing up for yourself, is asking the questions, is challenging what is being told to you, whether it's take X amount of insulin, or maybe it's this is the best diet for you. It's not meant to be in a rude or an aggressive manner, but rather curiosity. And to say, hey, you should eat more fruits and vegetables. And you go, oh, what would that help me accomplish, right? Even if you know it's true. It's helpful to gain information, to gain insight from people who might know more on a topic than you. And then in that case, if they are somebody who is well-versed and is actually an expert on that topic, you may learn something new that is incredibly beneficial and helpful, right? So on that side of things, it can actually benefit you to ask those questions, to be curious, to be your own best advocate. But in many cases, being your own best advocate falls under the other side of the equation, which is when the person giving you instructions may not be the expert or the specialist. Maybe they're giving you advice that might not be in their realm of expertise. And as a result, you may have to question the logistics behind their thought process, question the likelihood that that solution is actually the solution. And sometimes that means looking for a second opinion. Sometimes it means standing up and going to ask at the front desk why no one has seen you yet. In my case today, this lesson came from just about that lesson itself, where I had been there for hours and hours on end, and I had to get back to my life, and get to a work meeting actually. And so I went up to the front and said, hey, any idea how long it takes for x-rays to be read? And now you guys kind of have an idea why I was at the ER. I was like, hey, how long does it take to get an x-ray read? It's been a couple hours. And she's like, oh, I'll check on that for you. I'm so sorry. And they were super, super nice. Incredible people. And the nurse that was the lead was very thoughtful. And she actually did go out of her way to check on that and found out that it had been forgotten about. I had been forgotten in the back room, just kind of waiting peacefully. I brought my book and I was reading the whole time. So, you're not going to get attention if you are the one that's calm, and especially in the ER, right? And so one of the phrases that stands out to me is that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Now, I'm not telling you to be squeaky. Don't be annoying. Don't be rude. Don't be loud, right? But do stand up for yourself. Sometimes there might have just been a small overlooking, with the head nurse or an assistant, or maybe your paper got shuffled under a desk and no one even knows that you're waiting. Or maybe in the diabetes management side of things, maybe somebody wrote the number 1, but because a little notch at the top, somebody else thought it was a number 7, right? And like, okay, you should take 7 units. And you're like, 7 units? I thought I was only supposed to take 1. But so often we are conditioned to believe that we can't question medical professionals. So instead we go home, we take the 7 units, right? And it puts us back into the hospital with a near-death experience, right? When all that could have been required of that situation is for us to ask why, to confirm, to be our own best advocate, all right? And all you got to do is say, are you sure? I thought I could be wrong, right? Like, give them the benefit of the doubt. I could be wrong, but I thought that was a 1 unit that was written down. They look back at it and go, that does look like it could be 1. I'll be right back. I'll ask about it. They come back. Oh, it was a 1. You were right. Wow. Glad you caught that. Haha. Right. That's what being your own best advocate looks like. Simple curiosity, asking the questions, and just standing up for yourself. All right. So that's the first one. For me, it was a question because I wanted to get out of the hospital and then get back to my life. I was like, hey, what's going on? Why is this taking so long? But that's one of the first things I want to share with you guys. So the second one is that while I was in the hospital, there were a number of patients that came in and left. It's one of those shared rooms where there's like 6 different curtains, right, that separate the rooms, but you can still hear and you get an idea of what's going on in the patients. And while there's no private information being shared, one of the words that was used in the introduction stood out to me, as it might with you as well. Oh, I see that you're a diabetic. My ears perked up. Ooh, diabetic. I wonder what's going on, right? Because I want to know, A, if there's something I can learn, but B, my brain just immediately goes to, how can I help? What's the solution? What are they struggling with? I want to see if I can offer a solution for them. Granted, I can't, because you can't barge into somebody's appointment on the other side of the curtain. But as I'm listening in, this person who was living with diabetes was having a rough time, and it was hard to listen to. This individual was clearly not taking care of themselves. Maybe from ignorance, they just might not have known what it looks like to take care of themselves. And that's in part due to the medical system failing the majority of diabetics, but also because we're not told that we can do our own research and we can take control of our diabetes, right? But this individual has already seen a number of complications. And, I'm at this point passively listening. I feel like it's almost rude to continue, but it's 5 feet away from me. It's hard not to listen. And the struggle that this person had encountered was that of some infections, some, stereotypical complications that you hear about, some limb issues, some neuropathy. And this doctor caught me off guard. And I was pleasantly surprised. As I mentioned to you, there are good doctors out there, right? And this doctor had actually cut them off and said, patient name, you need to take care of yourself. And very bluntly, I was kind of shocked. And this doctor went into almost a rant of how if nothing changes, this is going to get worse. And he started using examples of, like, it sounds like they had an existing relationship before, like this patient had come in the past. But this doctor was sharing things that this person was never going to be able to enjoy in life. The nieces, the nephews, the grandkids. Diabetes would kill this individual if nothing happened. And the next thing, based on their test results, in addition to the heart issues, the high blood pressure, was going to be kidney disease if nothing changed. In fact, he asked this individual, this patient, if they had already been experiencing some of these symptoms. And they said yes. And they recognized that they needed to make changes. They know, and that person has been going for walks every day. And this doctor mentioned that it wasn't just about going for walks. That's a great step, but it's more than that, right? It's Are you taking your medications? And then this doctor actually went into a more in-depth explanation of it's not just the medications. And I don't want to give any names or locations because this doctor had actually said, hey, a lot of the other doctors here, they're just going to give you a pill and tell you that's going to fix it. But I want you to know you can actually fix a lot of these things on your own. And this doctor was empowering this patient. And I was just getting the chills in the next room. I'm like, yes, we can do this ourselves. That's right. Take it into your own hands. Take responsibility. Let's do this. And I'm listening to this doctor just passionately share with this person lovingly that there are things you can do, but you have to do them now. There is no choice. If you wait any longer, you could die. And the passion in this doctor's voice was refreshing. It truly was. Ultimately, this doctor went into a semi deeper dive into other diabetes management strategies, into dietary protocol, how different diets are helpful or harmful, and how cultural foods are going to be difficult in a lot of cases. And you got to learn to, change out your diet. And this doctor was of the same cultural background as the patient, and they commiserated over some foods that are difficult to keep blood sugar stable with. And it was a beautiful thing. This whole experience that I was able and blessed to listen in on ended with the doctor saying, you have to be proactive. You cannot wait any longer, because if you wait longer, things are going to happen that cannot be taken back. It could be too late. You have to make these changes today. And this doctor just drilled that point home. Proactive, proactive, proactive. Take action now. And this is one of the things that we preach a lot at FTF Warrior. And I loved hearing it in the medical setting, because so often the medical setting promotes a reactive approach where you wait until it's too bad. Then you go in to get help and they try to fix you up, some Band-Aids, some pills, whatever it is. And this doctor is saying, no, don't wait for us to fix you. You have to fix you. You have to change things in your life. It's more work, but you can actually reverse some of these issues if you put the work in. And I'm getting chills right now. It was so incredible listening to that passion behind this professional's advice. And so the second lesson learned from today was to be proactive and to take this into your own hands. You can't wait for somebody else to fix you, because if you wait, you could miss the turning point and get past that point of no return. Some things may be set into motion that you can't pump the brakes on. Right? So your best chance at living your best life is to take action yourself. Take responsibility for this thing. No, it's not fun, but everyone's got crap they deal with, right? This is your thing. This is my thing. We have to take control over this. We have to take responsibility for our blood sugars, for what is now our normal life, right? And so that was a big component of that conversation I was able to pull away is being proactive can save you from a lot of pain down the road. And I wanted you guys to hear that story as well, that not only are there good doctors out there, but that the good doctors are the ones that are telling you to be proactive, not to just skate by, right? We're not looking to survive with diabetes. We're looking to thrive with diabetes, right? Melinda says, good word. I love that. And you know what? Let's use the chat real quick. Has anyone experienced a doctor or endo or PA or nurse, anyone who has encouraged them to take diabetes into your own hands, or at the very least to start putting that proactive effort in? Drop the word empowered in the chat if you've ever been told that or been or felt like you've had power to do that yourself. And if not, we'll say put the word rely in the chat if you've felt like you had to rely on your doctor, that they made you come back and it's more of a reactive thing. So empowered if you felt like you can do it yourself and you've been told to do it yourself, and rely if you've not been told that, if you're more being encouraged to rely on the medical system. I want to hear what you guys got to say. We got Erica in the chat. Erica says empowered. Love it. I just realized I don't have my water. I usually have a water bottle right here. I'm like, oh no. Drink your water, people. It's going to help with your blood sugars. So looks like Erica is the only superstar in the chat right now. Maybe you guys are still typing away. It's okay. But while you guys are chatting and getting those comments in, the third point, and this one was where the conversation took a bit of a turn for the negative, unfortunately, is this doctor had excellent intentions, was encouraging this patient to really take control of their life, to, excel with their diabetes, to give their future the best chance, right? To try to avoid those complications in the future. And what I noticed towards the end is this doctor tried to give specific advice in a realm that they may not have been trained on. And I believe that this doctor was trying to help. And I think that's why they gave this advice. But this advice that they gave, unfortunately, fell outside of their realm of specialty. And the doctor started going down a nutrition rabbit hole. And initially started off with some correct advice, keep an eye on your foods. Don't eat the unhealthy foods. Don't drink soda every day. In fact, stop drinking soda entirely. You got to swap out XYZ cultural foods for more salads. But then he started going down this rabbit hole of different types of foods that are just off limits that shouldn't be. And it was following a pretty standard pattern that I've seen in the medical system a lot, which is following the protocol for a diet that's been pushed decades ago, but has recently been proven that it's not necessary in order to accomplish stable and consistent blood sugars, right? In the chat, we've got Bev says rely, Melinda says rely, Suzanne says rely. Okay, so a lot of people feel like they've been told to rely on their doctors. That was the same for me, right? And when I was first diagnosed, I was told do not change anything. I thought that I wasn't allowed to even look at my insulin to carb ratios. And so I just did what they told me, and that it allows you to pretend it's not your fault if things go bad. But the reality is, now that we know we can make these changes, that we can have a look at our medical devices, it empowers us, right? And so I want to give you that empowerment. If you've never been told that before, you're allowed to do your own research. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to ask why and be curious. And with the proper training, you are allowed to make adjustments in your diabetes management, whether it's changing the type of foods that you eat, the exercises, even down to the amounts of insulin you get, because in most cases, you know more about your daily life than your doctor is ever going to find out in a 15-minute appointment, right? So if you've never been told that before, I want to give you that freedom, that flexibility, that invitation to start looking into your own health, because it's yours, right? You're unique, and no one's going to know and understand as much about you than you. So, this last piece of the conversation, when the doctor started giving advice that he may have not been a specialty on or specialist on, was defeating. But I still hold on to that hope that this individual is truly doing what's best for his patients, to what he believes is best, giving advice that he has been taught in the past. And oftentimes these people are just not updated, right? They've gone through medical school, but it's been 5, 10, 15 years since they've gotten the updated information. And yes, they have like CEs and stuff for continuing education, but very rare that you have a medical professional who is curious enough to know cutting edge, things that happened this year. And so this individual, this doctor, was given some advice that I disagreed with. And, there's probably people who disagree with me as well. But understanding that your doctor may not know everything about everything. And that was the key take home for me as well. The big point number 3 is that your doctors know a little bit about a lot of things. They're super smart, right? But they know a little bit about just about everything. That way, no matter what you're coming into the doctor's office for, they have some thoughts. They've studied that topic at least enough to give you some recommendation, some kind of a solution, but they're probably not going to be a specialist or an expert in all of those areas. In fact, it would be impossible, right, to know everything about everything. And this is why, if you do have a specific issue like diabetes, right, especially type 1 diabetes, something a bit more rare, you got to find a specialist. You got to find someone who not only knows what they're doing, but is obsessed with it to the point of expertise. If you're finding somebody who casually checks in on what's new with diabetes every 5 to 10 years, you're going to get a very different response, very different solution. In fact, you might not even get a solution than if you go to somebody who's up to date every week, right? Always checking in, checking sources, checking connections and partnerships and new studies. That's where you got to go for your true diabetes advice. And it's still good to listen to your doctor, right? The advice he was giving will serve as a good starting point for this patient, though I hope this patient continues to do their own research, continues to push further, because truly the biggest killer of diabetes worldwide is complacency. Whether it's complacency with our blood sugars or complacency surrounding ignorance of heart health or cardiovascular health as it relates to your athletic abilities, your dietary choices. Complacency kills. And that's what I do not want for any of you. Melinda says, thank you, Matt. You got it, Melinda. So those were the 3 big takeaways that I was able to pull from today. There's a bonus one that I want to throw in there. So we're doing 4, even though I said 3. So number 4 is that health is everything. And without health, we have nothing. And this one hit me hard as I walked into the ER. So today I went to the emergency room. For anybody who doesn't know, it was very last minute and not planned and took way longer than anticipated. But as I walked in, 90% of the room was in a wheelchair. As I walked to the back where the people were already being served, most people were either on ventilators or were hooked up to IVs, tubes. Just a scary sight to see as I imagined myself in their shoes. I am the only individual walking in by myself on my 2 feet looking healthy, right? I wasn't bleeding out. I didn't have a broken bone, even though I got x-rays. And we'll see if you guys can guess what I was there for in a minute. But there was nothing visibly wrong with me. And there's an entire different conversation in and of that, right? By itself, the invisible disease that we all live with, where no one truly understands what the heck is going on. Well, you look healthy, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, are you serious, right? But I walk in there and was immensely filled with gratitude immediately as I looked around and imagined myself, as I am getting older, looking at the loss of mobility, looking at deteriorating health, looking at different diseases that can take people's lives over, and how at any moment that can change for any of us. Remember that. Today is a gift. Do not forget that life can be taken, life can be altered at any moment. And to think that diabetes is this end all for us is incredibly selfish, self-centered, as you look around the room at other people that literally cannot move because their version of a bummer deal in life took away their freedom. Now they're stuck in a wheelchair. They're stuck on a ventilator, stuck with IVs. We have a disease that enables us to continue living a fairly normal life. And not to say that somebody in a wheelchair has it worse than us. They don't. They'll probably look at us and go, oh man, I could never stick myself with needles all day. I don't know how you do it. And we're like, I don't know how you do it. Reality is we adapt to our current situation, right? That's what we do. We are warriors. We overcome. But looking around that room, realizing that health is everything. Because when you lose your health, even if it's the flu, sickness for a couple of days, your whole world comes to a stop. You realize immediately how important it is for you to get better. But then as soon as we get better, we often forget that exact lesson. It's a lesson we have to learn over and over and over again. And it is incredibly frustrating to me that I haven't learned that lesson yet. That it takes reminders like today to have that bubble back up to the surface. That health is everything. You've probably heard health is wealth before. It's a phrase that's pretty popular. But I think that everything sums it up better. Health is wealth. Sure, if you're healthy, you can make money. Or if you're healthy, you can enjoy your money. I don't know. But health is everything, guys. And if you have diabetes like me, if you have type 1, you've probably realized that if you ignore your diabetes, or if your blood sugars are low or high or roller coastering all day long, it gets in the way of you living your life, right? In fact, if anyone here has ever experienced what we call a blood sugar roller coaster kind of day, type roller coaster in the chat. I know I can't be the only one. I want to know how many roller coaster days people have seen. And a roller coaster, blood sugar roller coaster, is when your blood sugars go high to low to high to low, and it just feels like you're on a roller coaster ride. It's the worst ride of all. Roller coasters are usually fun, but those are just terrible. We got first one, mega roller coaster. Love it. Well, I mean, I don't love it. I know how much that sucks, but love that you guys are in this with me. Melinda says roller coaster. We've also got Erica roller coaster, Tanya. Yes, we've all been there. And for anybody who's watching who feels like you're the only one that's had a hard time, we're all having our struggle days. right? And actually, my day today going to the ER was tied to diabetes, believe it or not. I had like one of my clients reach out recently and let me know that they're having a hard go. That some issues with their diabetes therapy devices, right? And you've got insulin pumps, CGM, smart insulin pens. You've got all these fun devices, and when they break, it's really frustrating. And I use a device that I'm not going to say outright, but if you've been following in any capacity, you probably know what I wear. Actually, I'm curious. I want to see what you guys guess. So, why was I in the emergency room today? We talked about x-rays and we talked about diabetes. Why do we think that Matt went to the ER today? Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see if anybody's right. And while waiting for you guys, the roller coaster aspects. We can do a training on roller coaster in the future. I think we got a lot of people. Margie also says roller coaster. Bev says roller coaster. Maybe I'll do a training on the roller coaster in the near future about how to get off the roller coaster, how to make it stop. And let me see what you guys got for guesses, and then we'll hop off for today. And I'll finish up the story. So today, plans went very different. I actually had an entirely different training planned for today. I was really excited for you guys because we have something launching, and I'll get to that in a second as well. But some really, really exciting stuff happening here in this group and at FTF40 we've been working on for about a year and a half. And we'll get to that right at the end of this. I'll show you guys how you can get some more info on it before it jumps out in live. Margie says bike riding. That's a fantastic guess. Fantastic guess. I actually took my bike out yesterday for the first time since moving. We have dirt in our backyard, and I made a jump. And on the first jump, I crashed, and now my shin is bleeding. So, Margie, that's an amazing guess. Tanya says missing needle. Ooh, I'm gonna call that one as close enough. So, one of the devices that I wear has a thin wire of sorts that allows me to read my blood sugars. And this device, Margie says, no. Who says that? Suzanne says, no clue. So this device isn't perfect. Nothing in the world is perfect, right? And technology is amazing when it works. Sometimes it doesn't, though. And I got one of those bummer moments a couple days ago where that wire broke off under my skin. And it got embedded in some muscle tissue, and it's been extremely uncomfortable. And I can no longer flex one of my muscles without discomfort. And so I went to the ER after reading some online forums saying that you should immediately get it removed surgically. And I said, I don't want to get surgery. I was going to have somebody cut me open with a knife. Well, it's the same thing, but like a quick knife cut, right? And so I went into the ER, and that took multiple hours. And they actually ended up doing an x-ray. And in that x-ray, of which I do have a picture, so maybe we'll post a picture of that later, they showed me that I was correct in my assumptions and of the location of the device that was now known as a foreign body in my body. And they would recommend surgery. However, there's a unique situation with the placement of the foreign body that would make it dangerous to, or not as dangerous, more so it would cause more damage to pull it out than it is to leave it in. So now I have a decision to make where I may leave part of a device in my body long term. So that's an interesting discussion, but wanted to give you guys kind of that inside look because diabetes is not pretty. It's not easy, right? There are ways to simplify it 100%. That's entirely what we exist to do as a coaching service where we help people to simplify their blood sugar so it doesn't have to get in the way of everyday life. And we talk about getting off the blood sugar roller coaster. That's what we do. More predictability, more consistency with blood sugars. But even if you have beautiful blood sugars all day long, there are still things that can come along and give you a little hiccup, little road bump in your day. And that was one of mine. I've never had that happen before, but that's what I'm dealing with right now. So know that you're not alone in the struggles, whether your blood sugars are all over the map or if they're looking good, but there's still days where you feel burnt out or there's still technological issues that you encounter or unexpected events happening where your insulin goes bad. There's going to be those days, but that's what we're all here for, right? That's this community, this Renegade Warriors community. And I'm appreciative of you guys. I'm grateful to have all of you in this group, learning alongside of all of us and putting the efforts in to improve your lives, but also to show up, encouraging others and supporting each other It's an incredible place to be, and we protect that violently. I'm kidding. We do protect that, though. People come into this group if they are not supportive, if they are scammers, if they are dragging people down, or being rude, beyond what's typical. We kick them out because we protect this group, because you guys are important to me, and I want you to know that you're part of our family here. All right. Who we got this? Oh, some people said no, get it removed. Linda says, oh no. Got a lot of oh no's and ouches. Yeah, I totally get that. So that's what you guys are here for, to be surrounded by others, like-minded, driven individuals who want more out of life, instead of just giving up and saying, okay, diabetes means I get less out of life. No, it does not. Not if you're a warrior, right? And there's two stages to that, guys. There is the warrior, who is someone who refuses to be pushed down by this diagnosis. Then there is the renegade warrior, somebody who refuses to accept that we have to live a certain way as we're surviving with diabetes. And that renegade warrior mindset is really about challenging the current status quo, looking at what other options are out there. How else can I manage my diabetes so that I can fit diabetes into my life, and not so much fitting my life into the diabetes box, right? And that's what we're going to be working on. That's one of the things that we're releasing. And because I want you guys to get first dibs on this, we're actually going to be releasing an opportunity to join our first ever Renegade Warriors newsletter. And this is going to be a print newsletter where I share, the ins and outs of diabetes. We're going to be talking about support, the encouragement, the lessons learned, the mindset shifts and perspectives that you need in order to maintain that positive outlook, to avoid burnout. But equally as important, the strategies that we use to keep blood sugar stable, so that you don't have to worry about the roller coasters as often, right? So every once in a while, and you got to go to the ER to get a piece of metal removed from you, that's the only time that diabetes is getting in the way. Not every day, not every week, right? And those are the kind of things we're going to be sharing in that newsletter. And this newsletter is built for people like you and I who are the renegades, who think about life differently, who refuse to accept survival with diabetes as the end game, but are pushing for a thriving with diabetes kind of lifestyle. And as I mentioned a few times in these trainings before, we've got the announcement coming up, but I have not opened it. It's not actually open to anyone yet. But the first chunk of people, we haven't decided how many yet. We have to see how many of these items we have. But the first chunk of people who sign up for it are actually getting a special item shipped to them along with their first newsletter as well. And I cannot wait to share that with you. But what I'm going to be doing is making an announcement shortly in the group, next couple of days, maybe next week or so, where we can have you guys jump onto a wait list. But for now, I'm going to be picking one of these lives where I have you guys comment the word renegade. I'm going to pick one of them. I'm going to tell everybody in that comment section, whoever comments renegade, I'm going to be giving you an early heads up. So if you're looking for more out of life with diabetes, if you're looking for less of the roller coasters and more of the doing what I want and more flexibility and freedom with your blood sugars, I want you to go ahead and comment the word renegade. Oh, someone already beat me to it. Holy cow. Who was that? Tanya. Before I even said it. So yeah, drop the word renegade in the comments. One of these lives I'm going to pick, and anybody who commented renegade, I'm going to tag you in the announcement post that you get first dibs. You can get an idea for that. It will be a printed physical newsletter that is shipped to your doorstep. I've actually typed up the first couple of them, and they are packed full of info. Like not only lessons learned, but like the percentages of basal change that I introduced to make mountain biking work, or going grocery shopping stay stable. So like, this is stuff you're going to want to see. It's going to be pretty incredible. But I'm going to let you guys decide for yourself if it's awesome enough for you to read through it as you get your first one. See, we already got a bunch of people. You got Suzanne says renegade, Melinda says renegade, Bev says renegade, Erica says renegade. Love that, you guys. So I'm going to get you guys tagged in the announcement post. Anybody else, feel free to toss that in there as well. Today was a little bit longer. It was unplanned because obviously I did not think I was going to be going to the ER today, but we got a new story out of it. So that's where we're at. And you guys are amazing for sticking around. Be sure to hit the like button so that Facebook knows to show this to more people. Sometimes it gets kind of lost in the feed. But hit the like button real quick for me, and we'll get this notified to other people. Margie says renegade. Love it. And outside of that, guys, I will see you next week where we're going to have more details on that physical newsletter, as well as a fresh lesson for you, as we do every single week. If you haven't figured it out yet, we have moved in. It's just not ready yet. So we'll get the sign up and get the whole place decked out for you at the studio again. But love hanging out with you. Hopefully this is helpful for you. That is my intention with these live trainings every week that we show up for, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. You guys are fantastic. You're my renegade warriors. And have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time. All right? Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see you next week. Bye.